Senate Democrats are accusing President Trump of laying the groundwork to rig the 2026 midterm elections. Senator Chris Murphy says Trump wants to tilt the rules to make sure Democrats don't win. Trump called for nationalizing elections, and the FBI just raided election offices in Fulton County, Georgia. Republicans are calling this hypocrisy, saying Democrats spent years claiming 2020 was rigged, and now they're accusing Trump of the same thing. Senator Eric Schmitt called it a conspiracy theory. This is the 2020 election fight all over again, but with the parties reversed. Stay with me because both sides are accusing each other of election rigging, and the American people are stuck in the middle. What's up, everyone? Marcus Reed here with Senate Decoded, where I break down political hypocrisy and power games on both sides. Real quick, if you want coverage that calls out both parties when they're being hypocrites, shows you the games being played by Republicans and Democrats, and gives you the truth without partisan spin, hit that subscribe button now. This election rigging accusation story shows both sides at their worst. All right, here's what's happening. Senate Democrats, led by Chris Murphy and Alyssa Slotkin, are accusing Trump of trying to interfere in the 2026 midterm elections before they even happen. Their evidence: Trump called for nationalizing elections, the FBI raided Fulton County election offices in Georgia, and Republicans are pushing the Save America Act voter ID bill. But Republicans are calling this pure hypocrisy. They say Democrats spent 2020-2024 claiming elections were rigged, pushing massive election reform bills, and now they're doing the exact same accusations they condemned. I'm breaking down what Trump actually said about nationalizing elections, what the FBI raid in Fulton County was about, what the Save America Act does, why Democrats see this as election interference, why Republicans call this hypocrisy, and who's actually right. Let's get into it. Let's start with what President Trump actually said, because his comments about nationalizing elections triggered this entire controversy. Trump's statement: Trump appeared on Dan Bongino's podcast. Bongino is a former FBI deputy director turned conservative media host. Trump said, quote, "The Republicans should say, we want to take over, we should take over the voting in at least 15 places. What does take over the voting mean? Trump wasn't entirely clear, but the context suggests he wants federal government control of elections in certain jurisdictions, particularly in Democratic-controlled cities and counties, specifically targeting places like Fulton County, Georgia, Atlanta, federal oversight or replacement of local election officials. Why Fulton County? Fulton County is where Trump's 2020 election challenge is focused. He called Georgia Secretary of State asking to find 11,780 votes, claimed widespread fraud in Atlanta, was indicted by Fulton County DA Fani Willis, has obsessed over Fulton County for years. So when Trump says, take over voting in 15 places, Fulton County is definitely one of them. The constitutional problem: here's the issue. The Constitution gives states, not the federal government, the power to run elections. Article 1, Section 4 says, the times, places, and manner of holding elections shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. The federal government has limited power over elections, can set the date for federal elections, can enforce voting rights, 15th, 19th, 24th, 26th Amendments, can regulate federal campaign finance, but the federal government cannot run state local election offices, choose election officials, determine voting procedures, count ballots. That's all state local authority. Senate Majority Leader Thune's pushback: even Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune pushed back on Trump's idea. Distributed, decentralized elections held at state level, in my view, are a protection against hacking and other things. So it's a lot harder to hack 50 systems than it is one. Thune is saying having 50 state systems is safer than one federal system. He continued, I'm a believer in keeping most of those administered by the state. The issue of citizenship when it comes to voting would be an exception to that. So even the Republican Senate leader doesn't support Trump's nationalization plan. What Trump might actually do: since Trump can't legally take over state elections, what could he actually do? Option 1, FBI investigations. Investigate alleged election fraud in Democratic areas. Raid election offices, like they just did in Fulton County. Intimidate local election officials. Option 2, Justice Department lawsuits. Sue states, counties over election procedures. Challenge voter registration practices. Demand federal oversight. Option 3, withhold federal funding, threaten to cut federal money to non-compliant jurisdictions, use financial pressure to force changes. Option 4, legislative push, get Congress to pass laws expanding federal election authority, use the Save America Act as a vehicle, the Fulton County FBI raid. Your document mentions the FBI conducted a raid on an election hub in Fulton County, GA. This just happened. We don't have full details yet, but FBI agents entered Fulton County election offices. Unclear what they were investigating, no charges announced yet. likely related to 2020 election or current procedures. Democrats' interpretation. Democrats see this as Trump weaponizing the FBI to intimidate election workers in Democratic areas, create pretext for federal intervention, undermine confidence in 2026 elections, lay groundwork to challenge results if Republicans lose. Republicans' interpretation. Republicans see this as legitimate investigation of potential election fraud or irregularities, violations of election law, protecting election integrity, ensuring only eligible citizens vote. My analysis. Trump's comments about taking over elections in 15 places are concerning from a constitutional perspective. Even if you believe there were problems in 2020, the solution isn't federal takeover of state elections. That would set a dangerous precedent that future presidents, Democrat or Republican, could abuse. Now let's talk about the Save America Act, because this voter ID bill is at the center of the fight. What is the Save America Act? The Save America Act, Safeguarding American Voter Eligibility Act, would require photo ID to vote. Every voter must show government-issued photo ID proof of citizenship to register. When registering to vote, you must prove U.S. citizenship in person. Removal of non-citizens from voter rolls. States must purge non-citizens from registration lists. Penalties for violations. Criminal penalties for registering non-citizens. The sponsors, primary sponsors, Senator Mike Lee, R. Utah, constitutional conservative, libertarian-leaning Senator Ron Johnson, R. Wisconsin, fiscal conservative, Trump ally Senator Rick Scott, R. Florida, former governor, MAGA supporter Representative Chip Roy, R. Texas, House Freedom Caucus, hardline conservative, why Republicans support it. Republicans argue, argument 1, common sense photo ID is required for everything. Boarding planes, buying alcohol, cashing checks. Requiring ID to vote just makes sense. Every other developed country requires voter ID. Argument 2, prevents fraud. Non-citizens could vote without verification. Multiple registrations are possible without proof of citizenship. Voter rolls are full of ineligible voters, dead people moved away, etc. Argument 3, public support. Polls show 70-80% of Americans support voter ID. Even majority of Democrats support it in surveys. This is overwhelmingly popular. Argument 4, integrity and confidence. Voter ID increases public trust in elections, reduces conspiracy theories, makes results more legitimate. Why Democrats oppose it? Democrats argue, argument 1, voter suppression. Disproportionately impacts poor people, minorities, elderly. Getting ID costs money. Birth certificates travel to DMV. Some people don't have documents needed to get ID. Argument 2. Solution. Looking for problem in-person voter fraud is extremely rare, almost non-existent. Studies show only a handful of cases per election. This solves a problem that doesn't exist. Argument 3. Discriminatory intent. Designed to reduce turnout among Democratic-leaning demographics. Similar to Jim Crow-era literacy tests and poll taxes. Courts have struck down some voter ID laws as discriminatory. Argument 4. Federal overreach. States already set their own voter ID requirements. Federal mandate violates states' rights. Constitution gives states control over elections. Chuck Schumer's response. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called the Save America Act Jim Crow 2.0. That's inflammatory language, comparing it to segregation-era laws that explicitly prevented black people from voting. Schumer argues this bill is designed to suppress minority votes just like Jim Crow laws did. The current status, the Save America Act, is being pushed by Lee, Johnson, and Scott. They met with Trump on Thursday to discuss strategy, but the bill faces insurmountable obstacles. In the Senate, needs 60 votes to overcome filibuster. Republicans have only 53 senators, need 7 Democrats to support it. Democrats are near unanimously opposed, so the bill will not pass the Senate. Republicans' plan, since it can't pass as standalone legislation, Republicans tried to add it to government funding bill, failed. Attach it to must-pass legislation, Democrats refuse. Make it a campaign issue for 2026, current strategy. The political calculation, Republicans know this bill won't pass, but they're pushing it because politically beneficial, forces Democrats to vote against voter ID, unpopular position, energizes Republican-based campaign ad material. Democrats oppose election integrity, shows they're fighting for Trump's priorities. Democrats know opposing it looks bad, but they believe it's voter suppression disguised as integrity worth taking political hit to protect voting rights. Republican accusations of fraud are unfounded. My honest take, I think voter ID is reasonable in principle. Most countries have it. It's not inherently racist, but the details matter. If government provides free ID easily accessible to everyone, fine. If getting ID costs money, time that poor people can't afford, problem. If implemented to specifically reduce Democratic turnout, suppression. The Save. America Act's requirement to prove citizenship in person could be burdensome for people without easy access to original birth certificates or DMV offices. Now let's look at what Democrats are actually accusing Trump of, because their claims go beyond just the voter ID bill. Senator Chris Murphy's statement, Senator Chris Murphy, D. Connecticut, told Fox News, "I think as Trump gets more desperate, he's looking at ways that he can rig the election anytime a Republican doesn't win. He thinks it's unfair, and so he wants to tilt the rules to make sure the Democrats don't win." Let me break this down. Murphy's claim, Trump is rigging elections in advance. How? By changing rules to favor Republicans. Why? So Democrats can't win evidence. Nationalization comments, FBI raids, SAVE Act. Murphy continued, the Constitution is crystal clear. The federal government can't run state elections, but that doesn't mean he won't try. Senator Elissa Slotkin's statement. Senator Elissa Slotkin, D. Michigan, said, "You can take the president at his own words and believe what he says, and he's had an obsession with this issue, certainly an obsession with Fulton County since he lost the 2020 election, and he's now weaponizing the federal government because of his obsession." Slotkin's argument, Trump is obsessed with 2020 loss. He's using FBI DOJ to settle scores. Fulton County raid is political revenge. This is weaponization of government Democrats' overall narrative. Democrats are painting this as pre-rigging elections, changing rules before voting happens, intimidation, FBI raids scare election workers, voter suppression, SAVE Act reduces Democratic turnout, federal overreach, violating state control of elections, authoritarian, using government power against political enemies. Their timeline, Democrats see a pattern. Step 1, Trump claims 2020 was stolen, sets narrative. Step 2, FBI raids Fulton County, intimidates officials. Step 3, push SAVE Act, suppresses Democratic voters. Step 4, call for nationalizing elections, federal takeover. Step 5, challenge 2026 results if Republicans lose, refuse to accept outcomes. The irony, Democrats see, Democrats spent 2024 defending election integrity against Trump's fraud claims. They said elections are secure, fraud claims are conspiracy theories, Trump is undermining democracy, refusing to accept results is authoritarian. Now they're claiming Trump is rigging 2026 elections. But they'd say, we're not claiming fraud. We're exposing actual attempts to manipulate the system. My analysis. Democrats have legitimate concerns about FBI raids, appearing political voter ID, potentially suppressing turnout, Trump's rhetoric about taking over elections, but they're also engaging in the same preemptive delegitimization they criticized Republicans for. Now let's look at how Republicans are responding because they're calling Democrats massive hypocrites. Senator Eric Schmitt's response. Senator Eric Schmitt, R. Missouri, told Fox News that Democrats' charge is ridiculous. He said, sounds like a conspiracy theory. That's deliberate language. Republicans spent years being called conspiracy theorists for questioning 2020. Now they're throwing it back at Democrats. Schmitt continued, I think President Trump cares very deeply about the integrity of our elections. If you ask the American people, they support voter ID by overwhelming numbers. So look, they've got some outrage of the week every week. Republicans' counter-narrative. Republicans argue Democrats are hypocrites because, point 1, Democrats claimed elections were rigged, 2016. Democrats said Russia rigged the election for Trump. Hillary Clinton said election was stolen. Democrats investigated for years, impeached Trump over Ukraine election interference. Many Democrats never accepted Trump's legitimacy. Point 2, Democrats pushed their own election takeover. Under Biden, Democrats tried to pass H.R. 1 for the People Act, massive federal election reform, John Lewis Voting Rights Act, federal oversight of state elections. Both would have expanded federal control over state elections. Republicans blocked both bills, arguing they were federal overreach. Point 3, Democrats accused Republicans of rigging. Democrats have spent years claiming voter suppression in GOP-controlled states, gerrymandering, voter roll purges, closing polling places in minority areas. Point 4, now, Democrats are preemptively calling 2026 rigged. Republicans say Democrats are doing exactly what they criticized us for, claiming elections will be rigged before they happen. Senator Mike Lee's statement, Senator Mike Lee, R. Utah, sponsor of the SAVE Act, told Fox News, it is Democrats bending over backwards to prevent voter ID and proof of citizenship for American elections. It is Democrats demanding that nobody ask questions about election security and irregularities. The projection is, the quote cuts off, but projection means Democrats are accusing Republicans of what Democrats themselves are doing. The Republican frustration. Republicans are frustrated because when Republicans question elections, called conspiracy theorists, accused of undermining democracy, censored on social media. Some prosecuted, see Trump indictments. When Democrats question elections treated as legitimate concerns, media amplifies their warnings. Considered patriotic resistance, no consequences. My analysis. Republicans have a point. Democrats are doing what they criticized Republicans for, but Democrats would counter, we're not claiming fraud, we're pointing out actual attempts to manipulate the system. The problem is, both sides claim the other is rigging elections, neither accepts losses gracefully, and the American people have no idea who to trust. Let's step back and honestly assess who's right here. Are Democrats or Republicans being more hypocritical? The honest truth, both sides are hypocrites. Let me explain why. Democrats' hypocrisy, 2016-2020. Democrats claimed Russia rigged the election. Trump was illegitimate, election was stolen. We need federal election reform 2020-2024. Democrats claimed elections are totally secure. Questioning results undermines democracy. Fraud claims are conspiracy theories. States should control their own elections. 2026. Democrats now claim Trump is rigging elections in advance. Federal government is being weaponized. Republican election reforms are voter suppression. Democracy is under threat. That's inconsistent. Republicans' hypocrisy, 2016-2020. Republicans claimed elections are totally secure. Voter fraud is not a problem. Federal oversight is unconstitutional. States should control elections 2020-2024. Republicans claimed 2020 was rigged, stolen, massive fraud occurred. We need federal election reform. Can't trust state, local officials 2026. Republicans now claim elections are secure when we win. Democrats questioning elections is hypocrisy. Federal voter ID is necessary. States can't be trusted in Democratic areas. That's also inconsistent. The pattern, when your side loses, elections are rigged, fraud everywhere, system is corrupt, need federal intervention. When your side wins, elections are secure, no fraud occurred, system works great. Questioning results is authoritarian. Both parties do this. What's actually happening? Let me give you my honest assessment of each claim. Trump's nationalization comments, concerning and probably unconstitutional, but unlikely to actually happen. FBI Fulton County raid, could be legitimate investigation or political intimidation. We need more facts. Save America Act, voter ID is reasonable in principle, but implementation details matter for whether it's suppression. Democrats' pre-rigging accusations, somewhat overblown, but based on real concerns about Trump's rhetoric. My conclusion, nobody is acting in good faith here. Republicans genuinely believe elections have integrity problems, but also weaponize the issue for political gain, exaggerate fraud claims, only care about integrity when they lose. Democrats genuinely believe voter suppression is real, but also weaponize the issue for political gain, exaggerate suppression claims, only care about state control when it helps them. The real losers, the American people who don't know if elections are secure, don't know who to trust, are constantly told the other side is rigging everything, lose faith in democracy entirely. What we actually need, consistent standards, same rules whether your side wins or loses, reasonable voter ID with free, easily accessible IDs, depoliticized election administration, bipartisan oversight, audit and verification, transparent, professional audits, accept outcomes gracefully, loser concedes, winner governs. Will we get any of that? No, because both parties benefit from election chaos and distrust. All right, let me bring this entire story together. Senate Democrats are accusing Trump of laying groundwork to rig the 2026 midterm elections through nationalizing election control, FBI raids on Democratic election offices, and pushing the Save America Act voter ID bill. Republicans are calling this pure hypocrisy, pointing out that Democrats spent years claiming elections were rigged and pushing their own federal election takeover bills. Here are the key takeaways. First, Trump called for taking over elections in 15 jurisdictions, sparking constitutional concerns even from Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune about federal overreach. Second, the FBI raided Fulton County, Georgia election offices, which Democrats see as political intimidation and Republicans see as legitimate fraud investigation. Third, the Save America Act requiring voter ID and proof of citizenship is being pushed by Lee, Johnson, and Scott, but has zero chance of passing the Senate due to Democratic opposition. Fourth, Democrats Chris Murphy and Alyssa Slotkin accuse Trump of rigging elections by changing rules to prevent Democratic victories and weaponizing federal agencies. Fifth, Republicans Eric Schmitt and Mike Lee call this a conspiracy theory and pure hypocrisy given Democrats' own election rigging claims about 2016 and their attempts to pass federal opposed popular voter ID requirements, creating campaign ammunition. Eighth, American voters are the real losers as both parties undermine faith in elections for partisan gain, leaving no one trustworthy to administer fair voting. So what do you think? Are Democrats right that Trump is laying groundwork to rig 2026? Are Republicans right that Democrats are massive hypocrites? Should we have federal voter ID requirements? Can anyone actually trust elections anymore when both sides constantly claim the other is cheating? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments below. And if you want coverage that calls out hypocrisy on both sides, hit that subscribe button. I'm Marcus Reed with Senate Decoded, telling you the truth whether Democrats or Republicans like it or not. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.